I stood there frozen in the hotel lobby, watching my own children laugh as they walked away toward the elevator, without a single glance back. Jessica, my daughter-in-law, had said something about finally getting rid of the burden, and they had all laughed. They didn't know I had heard every word. They didn't know I had paid every single cent for that reservation with the money I saved over 8 months, selling my pies on Sundays at the farmer's market and stashing every coin in a cookie tin I hid behind the cans of beans. They also didn't know what I was about to do. But let's go back to the beginning, because it all started 3 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday afternoon when the warm sun streamed through my kitchen window. I was making my afternoon coffee, just like I did every day since I was widowed 4 years ago, when my phone rang. It was Michael, my oldest son, using that sweet voice he always used when he needed something. "Mom, I have a wonderful idea," he said, and I felt that little flutter in my chest that always came when my children included me in their plans. "What do you think about a family trip for the holidays? All of us together, just like the old days." His voice sounded so excited I could almost see his smile through the phone. "I found a beautiful resort on the coast, pools, restaurants, activities for the kids. It would be perfect, Mom." I put the coffee pot down on the counter, feeling my eyes well up with tears of joy. It had been so long since I felt included, since I was invited to anything more than family dinners where I sat in silence while they talked about their jobs, their trips, their plans. I was always the one who served, who cleared the plates, who stayed in the kitchen while everyone else went to the living room. "That sounds wonderful, honey," I replied, trying to keep my voice from breaking. "When would it be?" "The first week of January. 7 days, Mom. Imagine it. All of us, me and Jessica, David and Lauren, the grandkids, and you, of course, like one big, happy family." He paused and then added, "There's just one small detail, Mom. The resort requires one person to make the reservation. Could you take care of it? We'll transfer you the money later, of course. It was always like that." I was the one to put my name down, to provide the guarantee, to handle the paperwork while they enjoyed themselves. But this time, I didn't care. It was a chance to do something special for my family, to show them how much I loved them. "Of course, son. Count on me." That same afternoon, I called the resort. The receptionist had a kind, professional voice. "The Cypress Point Resort. How may I help you?" "I'd like to make a reservation for 12 people, I said, feeling my heart race. I had never organized something so big. "Perfect, ma'am." "For what dates?" "From January 2nd to January 9th. I heard the clicking of her keyboard. "Very well. That would be 5 family suites, all-inclusive, with access to all activities. The total will be $4,200. My breath caught in my throat. $4,200. My Social Security check was $300 a month. I had saved $1,800 selling pies for 8 months. I didn't have enough. "Ma'am, are you still there?" Yes, I'm sorry. Can I confirm the reservation and pay later?" "We require a 50% deposit to confirm, ma'am. $2,100. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my rocking chair, calculating and recalculating. I had $1,800 in cash, some savings I had put aside for emergencies, and my wedding ring, the ring my husband had given me 42 years ago, with a small diamond that sparkled in the light. The next day, I went to the downtown pawn shop. Mr. Harrison, the owner, was an older man who knew the whole family. "Estella, how are you?" "I'm well, Mr. Harrison." I came to ask, "How much would you give me for this ring?" He examined it with his loupe, turning it between his wrinkled fingers. "It's a fine piece, Estella. I can give you $800. It felt like I had been punched in the stomach. $800 for 42 years of marriage. But I thought of Michael's smile, of the possibility of having my whole family together. Happy. It's a deal. With the money from the ring in my savings, I called the resort that same afternoon and paid the deposit. The reservation was confirmed in my name, with my credit card as a guarantee. 5 family suites, 12 people, 7 days, all inclusive. Over the next few weeks, every time I spoke with Michael or David, they asked about the trip details, but they never mentioned the money. "We'll talk about that later," they'd say. "The important thing is that we're all together." I kept selling pies on Sundays, doing sewing work for the neighbors, saving every dollar I could to make the final payment. My house grew colder because I turned down the heat. I ate less meat, walked instead of taking the city bus. All for this perfect family trip. 3 days before the trip, Michael called me, excited. "Mom, you have no idea how much we're looking forward to this. The kids are so excited. Jessica has everything packed. How are the resort preparations going?" "Everything's ready, son. Just the final payment is left." "Oh, right, of course. Well, we'll figure that out. The important thing is that we have fun." The night before the trip, I finished paying for the full reservation with my credit card. $4,200. All of my wedding ring, all of my savings, plus the debt now on my card. But it was worth it. I was going to have 7 perfect days with my family. I had no idea what I was about to discover. The morning of the trip, I woke up before dawn. I had packed my suitcase the night before, folding each item with care, choosing my best dresses, the pearl necklace that had been my mother's, the comfortable shoes for walking on the beach. I felt like a child before Christmas. It had been so long since I'd had something to look forward to with such excitement. Michael was supposed to pick me up at 7 in the morning. We had agreed to travel together in 2 cars to the resort, which was 3 hours away. I put on my light blue dress, the one David always said made me look younger, and carefully applied my makeup. I wanted to look good for the family photos we would surely take. At 7:30, Michael honked from the street. I grabbed my suitcase, locked the house, and walked to the car with a smile I couldn't wipe off my face. In the passenger seat was Jessica, my daughter-in-law, scrolling through her phone. In the back, my 2 youngest grandchildren were playing on a tablet. "Good morning, family," I said as I got in, but only the children answered with a cheerful, "Hi, Grandma." Distracted, Jessica barely glanced up for a second and mumbled something that sounded like a greeting. Michael started the engine. "Are you all ready for the perfect family vacation?" I asked, trying to start a cheerful conversation. "Yeah, Mom," Michael replied, but his voice sounded tired. "Jessica, did you text Lauren to have them follow us?" "They already left. David drives like a turtle, so we'll probably get there before them," Jessica answered without looking up from her phone. During the drive, I tried several times to make conversation. I asked about Michael's work, about their plans for the days at the resort, about whether the kids knew how to swim. The answers were monosyllabic, sighs, half smiles that faded quickly. Jessica never stopped texting and would occasionally laugh at something she read on her screen. "Is it very funny?" I asked once, trying to be included in whatever was entertaining her so much. "It's my friend's group chat," she replied without looking at me. "Stuff you wouldn't understand." I stayed quiet after that, looking out the window at the passing fields, the small houses, the trees just beginning to change color. I thought about all the pies I had sold to pay for this trip, the nights I had stayed up sewing to earn a few extra dollars, my wedding ring that was now in a pawn shop safe. When we arrived at the resort, it took my breath away. It was more beautiful than I had imagined from the pictures online, tall palm trees swaying in the sea breeze, perfectly manicured gardens with flowers of every color, a white facade that gleamed under the midday sun. The entrance had water fountains that created a soothing sound, and you could hear the ocean in the distance. "What a beautiful place," I exclaimed, my chest swelling with joy. "I can't believe we're here." The kids jumped out of the car excitedly, running toward the entrance. Michael and Jessica started getting the suitcases out of the trunk. Just then, the second car arrived with David, Lauren, and the rest of the family. Chloe, my 17-year-old granddaughter, was the only one who came over to hug me. "Grandma, this place is incredible," she said, her eyes shining with excitement. "Did you see the pool? It's huge. And they say they have nightly activities and themed restaurants." "I know, sweetie. It's going to be a wonderful week," I replied, stroking her hair. At least someone shared my enthusiasm. We all entered the lobby, and I went to the reception desk. It was a spacious, elegant area with marble floors that reflected the light from crystal chandeliers, white leather sofas, and tropical plants in enormous pots. The air smelled of fresh flowers and sea breeze. "Good morning," I said to the receptionist, a young woman with a friendly smile. "I have a reservation under the name Estela Morales." She typed on her computer and smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Morales, we were expecting you. 5 family suites, 7 nights, all inclusive for 12 people. Everything is in order." As she prepared the key cards and explained the resort services, I heard my sons talking in low voices behind me. 5 suites? I heard David whisper to Michael. I thought you said it would be simpler. Mom organized everything, Michael replied. We'll figure out how to split the costs later. The receptionist handed me the key cards in elegant holders shaped like a palm tree. The suites are on the 3rd floor, all with an ocean view. Breakfast is served from 6 to 10 in the morning in the main restaurant, lunch from noon to 3 in the afternoon, and dinner from 6 to 10 at night. You also have full access to the spa, the pools, sports activities, and nightly entertainment. How wonderful, I exclaimed, my heart pounding with excitement. Did you hear that, everyone? We have access to everything. But when I turned around to share my joy with my family, I froze. There was no one there. Michael, David, Jessica, Lauren, and all the grandchildren had disappeared. Only Chloe remained, looking at me with a strange expression on her face. Where is everyone? I asked, a sinking feeling in my stomach. They went toward the elevators, she replied, biting her lower lip. Dad said they were going to get settled in the rooms and that we'd meet up later. Without waiting for me? Without the keys? Chloe didn't answer, but I saw in her eyes that there was something she wasn't telling me. We walked toward the elevator area, but there was no sign of the family. We went up to the 3rd floor and walked down the hallway looking for them, but it was as if they had vanished. Chloe, what is going on here? I asked, my voice trembling. She sighed and took out her phone. Grandma, there's something you need to know. They're in a family group chat, and... She stopped, as if it was hard for her to continue. What group chat? The one Dad, Uncle Michael, Mom, and Aunt Jessica made. It's called Drama-Free Vacation. Her voice got smaller. Grandma, they didn't want you to come on the trip. I felt as if the marble floor was shifting beneath my feet. What do you mean they didn't want me to come? But Michael invited me. He asked me to organize everything. Chloe showed me her phone with trembling hands. On the screen, I could see the group chat. The most recent messages broke my heart into a million pieces. We're here. The old lady took care of everything, as usual. Perfect. Now we can enjoy ourselves without her watching over us all the time. Did you see how excited she got at reception? How embarrassing. Well, at least she's useful for something. Let her stay in her room watching television while we have fun. The words blurred in front of my eyes. I felt them fill with tears, felt my throat tighten. $4,200. My wedding ring. 8 months of work. All so they could enjoy themselves. Without drama, without me. Grandma. Chloe's voice sounded very far away. Grandma, are you okay? No, I wasn't okay. But I wasn't finished, either. I stood there in the hotel hallway, with the 5 key cards dangling from my trembling fingers, while Chloe looked at me with tears in her eyes. The messages in the group chat kept coming, each one like a knife straight to the heart. I hope she doesn't get difficult about the family meals. Relax, Jessica. If she gets unbearable, we'll just tell her she's tired and should go rest. The important thing is that the kids have fun. She can do her own thing. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The hallway smelled of cleaning supplies and fresh flowers, but all I could taste was the bitter humiliation in my mouth. For 40 years, I had raised those sons. I had sacrificed my dreams for theirs. I had sold my wedding ring to give them this perfect vacation. And this is how they repaid me. Chloe, I said, in a voice I didn't even recognize. How long has this group existed? She looked at her phone, scrolling up to see older messages. Since Uncle Michael proposed the trip to you, Grandma. Look, it says here he created it the same day he called you. My granddaughter showed me the screen. There it was, clear as day. Group created on December 12th by Michael Davis. The same day my son had called me with his sweet voice to invite me on the family trip of my dreams. I kept reading the older messages, each one worse than the last. Just talk to Mom. She bought it hook, line, and sinker. She's sure she can handle organizing it. You know how she is with technology. Doesn't matter. If she messes up, we'll fix it. The important thing is that she pays for it. Awesome. Free vacation and no family drama. But seriously, no group activities. Everyone does their own thing. The words were becoming a blur through the tears I could no longer hold back. But there was something more more recent messages that made me understand the full extent of their betrayal. Did you confirm that the resort allows changes to the reservation? Yeah, David had asked at the front desk. Since it's in Mom's name, she can make modifications. Perfect. Tomorrow we'll convince her to transfer the rooms to our names, just in case. And on the last day, we'll tell her there was an error with the bill, that the hotel needs someone else to take over the payment. There it was. Not only had they planned to ignore me during the trip, but they also intended to leave me with the entire debt at the end. They had used me to organize and pay for their perfect vacation, and then they were going to abandon me with the bill. Grandma, Chloe touched my arm gently. What are you going to do? That question echoed in my mind. What was I going to do? The old Estella would have cried in silence, would have swallowed the humiliation, would have pretended she hadn't seen anything. She would have spent the 7 days locked in her room, ordering room service so as not to bother the family in the restaurants, watching television while they enjoyed the pool, the spa, the nightlife that I had paid for. But something had changed inside me. Maybe it was watching my wedding ring disappear into the pawnbroker's hands. Or maybe it was those 8 months of waking up before dawn to bake pies and sell them at the market. Maybe it was realizing that my own sons saw me as a walking wallet, useful for paying and organizing, but an annoyance to include. I don't know yet, sweetie, I answered Chloe, wiping my tears with the back of my hand. But I'm not going to just stand here and cry. We walked to my suite. It was beautiful, with a king-size bed covered in pristine white sheets, a balcony with a direct view of the ocean, a marble bathroom with a deep tub, everything I had dreamed of for months, while I saved penny by penny. But now it felt empty, like a stage set for a play in which I was only the financier, not the star. I sat on the bed, and Chloe stood by the window, looking toward the beach, where I could already see some of the family. Michael and David were in the pool with their sons. Jessica and Lauren were sipping cocktails under an umbrella, all of them laughing and enjoying themselves as if nothing had happened. Do you know what hurts the most? I said to Chloe. It's not the money. It's not even that they lied to me. It's that I thought we were finally going to be a real family, that we were going to make beautiful memories together. Chloe turned around, and I saw her eyes were red. Grandma, I tried to tell them it was wrong. When Dad added me to the group, I told them it wasn't fair to you, but they said I didn't understand, that adults sometimes have to make tough decisions. Tough decisions? Is that what I am to them? A tough decision? Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Michael. Mom, we've settled in. We're heading to the beach restaurant for lunch. If you want, you can order room service. See you at dinner. He didn't even invite me to lunch. Didn't even pretend he wanted my company. I got up from the bed and walked to the balcony. The ocean stretched out, infinite, before me. The waves lapped gently at the shore, and a warm breeze stirred the white curtains of the room. It was exactly as I had pictured it during all those months of sacrifice, but my family wasn't there to enjoy it with me. Chloe, I said without turning around. Did you know that I paid for all of this? What do you mean? You paid for everything? The reservation. All of it. $4,200. I sold your grandfather's wedding ring to pay the deposit. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Grandma, no. He didn't know. Dad always said they were going to split the cost among everyone. A lie. I paid for every cent, and they knew it. They knew I didn't have that kind of money. They knew I had to make sacrifices, and they still used me. I turned around and saw Chloe was crying. Grandma, this is so wrong. I have to tell my parents that. No, I interrupted her with a firmness that surprised even me. You're not going to say a word. Not yet. But what are you going to do? I looked toward the beach one last time, where my family was enjoying the vacation I had given them without their knowledge. I thought of all the times they had made me feel invisible, all the occasions they had treated me like a piece of furniture, useful, but in the way. I'm going to think, I replied. And while I think, I'm going to act as if I never saw those messages, as if I know nothing. Why? For the first time in days, I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but something colder, more calculated, because, my love, the best revenge is a dish best served cold, and I have a whole week to plan mine. That afternoon I stayed in my room, sitting in the armchair by the balcony, watching my family enjoy themselves on the beach. I had ordered room service as Michael had suggested, but the food sat untouched on the tray. I wasn't hungry. What I had was a mental clarity I hadn't felt in years. I took out my notebook, that little blue notebook where I jotted down my daily expenses, and started to write. First, all the details of the reservation: dates, prices, confirmations. Then, screenshots of the group chat messages Chloe had shown me. Everything documented, everything recorded with the precision of someone who has learned that in life, you can only trust what's on paper. While I wrote, my phone buzzed constantly. Messages from the official family group chat, the one that included my name, filled with photos of them at the pool, in the restaurant, on the beach. What a beautiful place, Mom. The kids are so happy. Thanks for organizing everything. Each message was like a slap in the face disguised as affection. But messages from the secret group kept coming too, the ones Chloe forwarded from her room. Each one confirmed what I already knew. I was just a means to an end. The old lady is being super quiet. Perfect. I hope she doesn't show up for dinner. The kids want to eat in peace. Tomorrow we'll ask her for the keys to the other rooms, in case we need some privacy. Privacy. As if my presence was a violation of their family intimacy. As if I wasn't their mother, their mother-in-law, their grandmother. Around 6 in the evening, Chloe knocked on my door. She was dressed for dinner in a floral dress, her hair pulled back. She looked beautiful, but her eyes still showed traces of the afternoon's tears. "Grandma? Are you coming down for dinner?" "I don't know, sweetie." "What do you think?" She sat on the bed, nervously fidgeting with her hands. "I think you should go down. Not because they deserve it, but because you paid for that dinner and you have a right to enjoy it." I smiled. My granddaughter was wiser than her family could ever imagine. "You're right. I'm going down." I got ready carefully. I put on my black dress, the elegant one I'd bought especially for this trip at a second-hand shop, but that fit me perfectly. I put on makeup, my pearl earrings, and a little of the perfume that had been my mother's. If I was going to face my family, I would do it looking impeccable. The main restaurant was spectacular. Tables with white tablecloths, lit candles, enormous windows overlooking the ocean, where the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. The kind of place I had dreamed of visiting for years, but never thought I could afford. When I arrived, my family was already seated at a large round table. Michael saw me first and waved me over, but his smile seemed forced. "Mom, so glad you came down." We already ordered appetizers. I sat in the only empty chair, which was strategically placed with its back to the ocean view. A coincidence, of course. "How was your afternoon, Estella?" Lauren, my younger daughter-in-law, asked me with that sweet voice she used when people were around. "Very quiet," I replied, pouring myself some water. I rested, read a little, enjoyed the view from my balcony. "That's good," Jessica said without looking up from the menu. "We were at the pool all day. The kids didn't want to get out of the water." "It looks like they had a lot of fun," I commented, watching my grandchildren, who were tanned and happy. At least they were genuinely enjoying the trip. During dinner, the conversation flowed as if nothing had happened. They talked about the spa, the activities they had planned for the next day, the perfect weather, how delicious the food was. I nodded, smiled at the right moments, made occasional comments. But inside, I was taking mental notes of every detail. I noticed how David ordered the most expensive bottle of wine on the menu without consulting me, as if it were natural that I would be paying. I noticed how Jessica ordered 2 desserts to try, and then only took 1 bite of each. I noticed how Michael told the kids to order whatever they wanted, no limits, because Grandma is treating us all. But what I noticed most was something that broke my heart. When one of my grandsons, little 8-year-old Leo, asked if we could build sand castles together the next day, Jessica immediately intervened. "Honey, Grandma is too tired to be at the beach all day. You can play with your cousins instead." "But I want to play with Grandma," Leo insisted. "Older adults need more rest," Lauren said, patting his head. "You'll have time to play with Grandma when we get back home." Older adults, as if I were a relic in a museum, too fragile to participate in real life. "I'm 65, not 90. I can build sandcastles perfectly fine." "Actually," I said, with a smile I hoped looked natural, "I would love to build sandcastles with you, Leo. Tomorrow after breakfast. How does that sound? I saw Jessica and Lauren exchange a quick glance. That silent communication of people used to manipulating situations. Well, we'll see what the weather is like in the morning, Jessica finally said. After dinner, as we walked back toward the elevators, I heard David whisper to Lauren, "We'll go to the spa early tomorrow. Take the kids to the kiddie pool so they don't bother Mom. Early tomorrow." The same time I had arranged to meet Leo to build sandcastles. How convenient. In the elevator, Michael asked me, "Mom, do you need help with anything? The hotel papers? The key cards? Anything like that?" There it was. They were already starting their plan to take control of the reservation away from me. "No, son. Everything is perfect. I have it all under control. It's just that I thought maybe it would be easier if one of us handled the technical details. So you don't have to worry about a thing. I appreciate the offer, but it's really not necessary." I saw the flicker of frustration in his eyes for a split second before he smiled again. When I got to my room, Chloe was already waiting for me, sitting in the hallway. "How was dinner, Grandma?" "Educational," I replied, opening the door. "Very educational." We went inside and she sat in the armchair while I took off my shoes and left my purse on the table. "Grandma, I've been thinking all afternoon. What they're doing is so wrong, and I can't just stay quiet." "Chloe, listen to me carefully. I know you have good intentions, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She nodded, though she looked confused. "Good. Then I want you to keep sending me the messages from the secret group, but I also want you to act completely normal. Don't let them know that I know anything." "But why?" I sat down across from her and took her hands. They were soft and young, without the wrinkles and scars that mine had after 65 years of work and sacrifice. "Because, my love, when someone betrays you, the worst thing you can do is confront them immediately. The best thing is to let them keep believing their plan is working while you prepare your own. You have a plan?" "I'm developing one." Chloe was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Grandma, have you ever felt anything like this before?" "Like what?" This anger, this huge disappointment." I looked toward the balcony, where the full moon was reflecting on the ocean waves. It was a beautiful, romantic view, the kind I would have enjoyed with my husband if he had lived to see it with me. "Only once," I replied, "when your grandfather died and I realized I would have to face the rest of my life alone. But this time is different." "Why?" "Because when your grandfather died, the pain was unavoidable. It was part of life. But this was a choice. My sons chose to hurt me, to use me, to betray me. And choices have consequences." That night, after Chloe went to her room, I stayed up very late. Not watching television or reading, but thinking, planning. For the first time in years, I felt powerful, because I had something they didn't know I had, information. And as my husband used to say, information is power. Tomorrow I would start using it. I woke up before dawn, just as I had for the past 8 months, when I would get up to bake pies to sell. But this time, it wasn't out of obligation, but from a strange sense of energy I hadn't felt in years. I made coffee with the in-room machine and sat on the balcony to watch the sun rise over the ocean, reviewing my notebook. At 7:30, my phone buzzed with a message from Chloe. It was a screenshot from the secret group chat, sent just a few minutes earlier. "Plan for today. Everyone to the spa at 9. Kids to the kiddie pool with the hotel babysitter. Lunch at the beach restaurant without the old lady. If she asks, we'll tell her a spontaneous plan came up." "Perfect. And don't forget, today we ask for the keys to the other rooms. Any believable excuses? We'll say we need access in case of an emergency, or that the kids want to throw a surprise party in one of the suites." They couldn't even invent an original lie. But what bothered me most was the part about the babysitter. They had hired someone to watch my grandchildren instead of asking me, their own grandmother, to be with them. As if I were a dangerous stranger, instead of the woman who had raised them as babies when their parents had to work. At 8, I went down to the restaurant for breakfast. It was early, so there were few people. The place was beautiful in the morning, with golden sunlight streaming through the windows and the soft sound of waves in the background. I sat at a table by the window and ordered coffee, fresh fruit, and scrambled eggs. As I ate, I watched the other families. An older couple laughing as they shared croissants, their wrinkled hands intertwined on the table. A young family where the parents were feeding a baby while the grandmother held the older child on her lap, telling him stories that made him laugh. Real families, families that included each other. Families where grandparents were an integral part, not a burden to be tolerated. At 9 o'clock sharp, I saw my family heading toward the spa area. Michael, David, Jessica, and Lauren walked together, talking animatedly, while the kids ran ahead excitedly. None of them looked toward the restaurant where I was sitting. They didn't even wonder if I had eaten breakfast or if I was okay. I finished my coffee slowly, savoring every sip. Then I went up to my room and took out all the reservation documents I had brought with me. The hotel confirmation, payment receipts, a copy of my credit card, all organized in a folder I had meticulously prepared. At 10:30, I went down to reception. "Good morning, Mrs. Morales." The same receptionist from the day before greeted me. "How are you enjoying your stay?" "Very well, thank you." "I have a question. This reservation is entirely in my name and paid for with my credit card, correct?" She checked her computer. "That's right, ma'am. Everything is registered under your name. Estela Morales. 5 suites for 7 nights. All inclusive. All services included. Paid in full. And if I wanted to make changes to the reservation, would I have the authority to do so?" "Of course. As the primary name on the reservation and the one who made the payment, you have full control. Is there something you'd like to change?" "Not at the moment. I just wanted to confirm." "Another question. Is it possible to add a security note to the account so that any changes require my personal in-person authorization?" The receptionist looked at me with curiosity but nodded professionally. "Certainly. Would you like to add any specific instructions?" "Yes. I want it on record that I, Estela Morales, am the only person authorized to make changes to this reservation. No one else in my party can modify dates, services, or transfer rooms to another name without my physical presence and my identification." "Understood. I will add that to the system immediately." While she typed, I observed the lobby. It was early, but it was already busy. Guests heading to the beach, families planning their day, the hotel staff attending to everyone with professional smiles. Everything seemed normal and perfect, but I knew that in a few hours, when my family returned from the spa, they would try to execute their plan to take control from me. "All set, Mrs. Morales. Is there anything else I can help you with?" "One more thing. What is the hotel's cancellation policy?" "It depends on the type of reservation. In your case, having paid the full rate in advance, you can cancel up to 24 hours before final checkout without penalty. If you cancel with less notice, 1 night's stay would be withheld." "I understand. And if I decided to shorten the stay, would I be refunded for the unused nights?" "Yes, ma'am. You would be refunded the cost of the remaining nights, minus any applicable penalty." "Perfect. Thank you very much for the information." I went up to my room with a strange feeling. For the first time in months, I felt in control of something. I wasn't the helpless old woman my children thought I was. I was the name on the reservation, the one with all the decision-making power, the one who had paid every cent. At 11:30, Chloe knocked on my door. She was flustered, her hair damp with chlorine from the pool. "Grandma, I have to tell you something urgent." "What happened?" "I was at the kiddie pool with my cousins when I overheard Dad on the phone. He was talking to someone from the bank. My blood ran cold." "From the bank?" "Yes. He was asking about how to dispute a charge on a credit card. He said something about a hotel, about unauthorized expenses." Chloe sat on the bed, looking worried. "Grandma, I think they're going to say you made charges without the family's permission." The room started to spin. Not only did they want to ruin my vacation and take control of the reservation, but they were also planning to leave me with the entire debt and then dispute the charges so they wouldn't have to pay a thing. "Are you sure about what you heard?" "Completely." After the call, Dad went over to where Uncle Michael and my aunts were. I saw them talking in low voices, but I managed to hear Dad say, "It's in process. It should be resolved by tomorrow." Tomorrow. They had it all figured out. They probably planned to enjoy all the hotel services until the last day and then activate the charge dispute, leaving me not only humiliated but also bankrupt. I stood up and walked to the balcony. The ocean was still there, beautiful and indifferent to human dramas. The waves came and went with the same steady rhythm. But something had changed in me since yesterday. It wasn't just disappointment or sadness I felt anymore. It was something colder, more determined. "Chloe," I said without turning around, "do you trust me?" "Of course, Grandma." "Then I need you to do something for me. And it's very important that you don't tell anyone what I'm about to ask. Anything." I turned and looked her directly in the eyes. "I want you to come to my room tonight, when everyone is asleep. We are going to have a very important conversation about the future of this family." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to teach them a lesson they will never forget." The phone rang at that moment. It was a message from the official family group chat. "Mom, we're having lunch on the beach. We saved you a spot if you want to come." Liars. I knew perfectly well they had planned to have lunch without me. But this time, instead of feeling hurt, I smiled. "Tell your father thank you very much, but I have other plans." And I wasn't lying. I did have other plans. Plans that were taking shape in my mind with a surprising clarity. That afternoon, while my family enjoyed themselves on the beach with the money I had paid, I made a few very important phone calls. First stop, my bank. Second stop, the hotel reception. Third stop, my lawyer. Because if my children thought they were going to play games with me, they were sorely mistaken. The game was just beginning. And this time, I was holding all the cards. That afternoon, while my family was having fun on the beach, believing they had found the perfect formula for a free vacation, I was in my room executing my own plan. I had learned over 65 years that patience is the most powerful weapon a woman can have, especially when she's underestimated. My first call was to the bank. After navigating a maze of automated options and waiting for 20 minutes, I finally managed to speak with a human representative. "National Bank, this is Carmen. How may I help you?" "Good morning, Carmen. My name is Estela Morales. I need to report a potential fraud attempt on my credit card." "Of course, Mrs. Morales. Can you provide me with your card number and date of birth to verify your identity?" After confirming my details, I explained the situation with the care of someone who has thought through every word. "Carmen, I have reason to believe that a member of my family is going to attempt to dispute legitimate charges I made on my card. Specifically, a hotel reservation for $4,200 that I authorized and paid for personally. I understand your concern, Mrs. Morales. Do you have any evidence of this potential fraudulent dispute?" "Yes, I have all the reservation documents, payment confirmations, and witnesses who can corroborate that I authorized all the expenses. Furthermore, my granddaughter overheard my son on the phone today discussing disputing these charges." Carmen took note of everything and explained the procedure. "I'm going to place a protection note on your account, Mrs. Morales. If anyone attempts to dispute those charges, an automatic investigation will be triggered that will require substantial evidence of actual fraud. In the meantime, the charges will remain valid until proven otherwise. I will also email you a form to document everything related to this potential family fraud attempt." After hanging up with the bank, I felt like I had won the first battle of a war that was just beginning, but I needed more ammunition. My second call was to the resort's front desk. "Good afternoon. Could I speak with the manager, please?" 5 minutes later, a man with a kind voice introduced himself. "Mrs. Morales, this is Miguel Hernandez, the resort manager. The receptionist tells me you wanted to speak with me." "Yes, Mr. Hernandez. I have a delicate family situation, and I need to ensure that certain information is officially recorded." I explained that I had paid for the entire reservation as a surprise for my family, but that I had discovered they were planning to fraudulently dispute the charges. "I understand perfectly, Mrs. Morales. Unfortunately, this is not the first time we've seen situations like this. What do you need from us?" "First, to confirm in writing that I am the sole account holder for the reservation and that I paid for everything voluntarily. Second, if anyone in my party tries to make changes without my presence, I want you to contact me immediately." "Of course. I will send you an official letter confirming all the details of your reservation and payment. I will also brief all front desk staff on the situation." "One more thing, Mr. Hernandez. Would it be possible to schedule a meeting for tomorrow morning? I believe I will need to make some changes to the reservation." "Certainly. Does 9 o'clock work for you?" "Perfect." My third call was the most important. I looked in my notebook for the number of Mr. Peterson, the lawyer who had helped my husband with his will and had handled some minor family matters over the years. Peterson Law Firm. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is Mr. Peterson available? This is Estela Morales. Mrs. Morales, what a pleasure to hear from you. Mr. Peterson is in a consultation, but I can interrupt him if it's urgent. It's urgent. 3 minutes later, Mr. Peterson's familiar voice filled the phone. Estela, how are you? Is everything all right? No, Mr. Peterson, nothing is all right. I need urgent legal advice. I told him the whole story. The trip, the group chat messages, the plan to dispute the charges, everything. Mr. Peterson listened without interrupting, making occasional sounds of disapproval. Estela, this is very serious. What your sons are planning constitutes financial fraud and elder abuse. Elder abuse? Yes. Using deception to obtain financial benefits from a senior citizen is a federal offense. Furthermore, disputing legitimate charges is bank fraud. What can I do? Several things. First, it's good that you've already contacted the bank. Second, I am going to email you a document that I want you to sign and have notarized. It's a sworn affidavit stating that you voluntarily paid for all the trip expenses. Is there a notary at the resort? Most large resorts have notary services for guests. Ask the manager. What else can I do? Estela, I have to ask you something important. Do you want to take legal action against your sons? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Legal action against Michael and David, the boys I had raised, whom I had cared for when they were sick, for whom I had sacrificed so much. I don't know, Mr. Peterson. I just want them to stop. I understand. But I want you to know that you have options. You can sue them for fraud. You can change your will. You can take measures to protect your assets. Think about it. After hanging up, I sat in silence for several minutes. The sun was beginning to set, painting my room in golden hues. I could hear the happy voices of my family returning from the beach, laughing, talking about their plans for dinner. At 6:30, someone knocked on my door. It was Michael. Hi, Mom. How was your afternoon? Very productive, son. Productive? What did you do? Important calls, paperwork, adult things. I saw his smile become a little strained. Mom, speaking of paperwork, David and I were thinking that maybe it would be easier if we handled some of the hotel details. So you don't have to worry. There it was. The first official move of their plan. What kind of details? Well, the keys to the other rooms, for example, in case there's an emergency and we need access. What kind of emergency would require you to have access to rooms that aren't yours? Michael seemed thrown off by the direct question. I don't know, Mom. We just thought it would be more practical. Michael, I said in the calmest voice I could manage, I am 65 years old, not 95. I can handle the keys to the rooms perfectly fine. Of course, Mom. I didn't mean you couldn't. I just thought, what did you think? Exactly. I watched him get nervous, searching for the right words to manipulate the situation without sounding too obvious. Nothing, Mom. Forget it. Are you coming to dinner? Of course. It's my money paying for that dinner, isn't it? The question took him by surprise. Your money? Whose else would it be, Michael? No, of course. You're right. We'll split everything at the end of the trip, like we talked about. When did we talk about that exactly? Michael fell silent for a moment, clearly confused by my change in attitude. The submissive, accommodating Estela he expected to find wasn't there. Well, Mom, I thought it was obvious that what was obvious. That we were going to share the expenses. Michael, did I ever ask you if you wanted to share the expenses? No, but did we ever agree that this would be a shared expense? Mom, I don't understand why you're asking these questions. I stood up and walked to the door. Let's go to dinner, son. I'm hungry. As we walked to the elevator, I could feel his confusion. His plan required me to be predictable, manageable, to act as I had always acted. But I was no longer the same woman who had arrived at the resort 2 days ago. During dinner, I watched my family with new eyes. I saw how each of them enjoyed the food I had paid for, the expensive drinks they ordered without a thought, the multiple desserts they requested on a whim. I saw them talking about their plans for the next day, as if I weren't there, as if my presence were optional. But I also saw something else. I saw Chloe watching me with worried eyes, understanding that something had changed in me. I saw my younger grandchildren genuinely enjoying the trip, knowing nothing of the adults' betrayals. And I realized something important. Not everyone at that table had betrayed me. That night, after everyone had gone to their rooms, Chloe came to see me as we had agreed. "Grandma, what's going on? Dad was acting so weird." He was acting weird because his plan isn't going as he expected. I told her about my calls that day, about the measures I had taken to protect myself, about the meeting I had scheduled with the hotel manager in the morning. "Are you going to cancel the trip?" she asked, her eyes wide. "No, my love. I'm going to do something much better." "What?" I smiled. And for the first time in days, it was a genuine, unforced smile. "I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve." At 5 in the morning, I was already awake, not because I had set an alarm, but because my body had developed the habit of waking up early during those months of selling pies. But this time, instead of feeling the familiar weight of exhaustion and obligation, I felt strangely energized. Today was the day everything would change. I showered calmly, dressed in my best outfit, the navy blue suit I had bought for my husband's funeral, but had never had an important occasion to wear. Then I went down to the restaurant. It was 6:30, and the place was almost empty. Perfect. I needed quiet to review my notes one last time. As I sipped my coffee and reviewed the documents Mr. Peterson had emailed me overnight, I saw Miguel Hernandez, the resort manager, walk in. He was a man in his 40s, elegant, with that warm professionalism that characterizes people who truly understand service. "Mrs. Morales, good morning. How did you sleep?" "Very well, thank you. Could we move our meeting up? I have a few things I'd like to discuss before my family wakes up." "Of course. Would you prefer to go to my office?" "Yes, that would be perfect." His office was elegant but welcoming, with a view of the resort's garden. It had diplomas on the walls, photos of special events, and a coffee machine he immediately offered to use. "Mrs. Morales, last night I reviewed your case with my legal team. We want to make sure we fully understand the situation." "Your legal team?" "Yes, cases like yours, while unfortunately not rare, require us to follow certain protocols to protect both the guest and the resort." Miguel opened a folder on his desk. "Let me confirm. You paid the full reservation of $4,200 with your own credit card, without coercion, as a surprise for your family. Is that correct?" "Completely correct." "And you have evidence that some members of your family plan to fraudulently dispute these charges?" "Yes. My granddaughter overheard my son coordinating with the bank." "I see. I have 2 documents here that I would like you to review. The first was an official statement from the resort, confirming all the details of my reservation and payment. The second was more interesting, an addendum to the contract giving me exclusive authority over every aspect of the stay." "What does this mean exactly?" I asked, pointing to the second document. "It means that you, as the person who paid and the primary name on the reservation, have absolute control. You can decide who stays and who goes. You can modify services. You can even cancel specific rooms if you wish." My pulse quickened. "I can cancel specific rooms?" "Absolutely. There are 5 suites reserved under your name. You can keep all 5, or you can cancel 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of them if you wish. And the people in those rooms? They would have to find alternative accommodations or leave the resort." The idea began to form in my mind with crystal clarity. "Miguel, what time is checkout?" "Normally at noon, but we can be flexible depending on the circumstances." "And if someone needs to leave before then?" "That's also possible. Are you considering making changes to the reservation?" I was silent for a moment, looking out the window at the gardens where the groundskeepers were already starting their work. It was early, but the day promised to be beautiful, sunny, perfect for the beach, the kind of day my family had planned to enjoy entirely at my expense. "Miguel, I want to make some changes, but I need them to be executed exactly as I am about to explain." "Of course. I'm all ears. I want to cancel 4 of the 5 suites." Miguel raised his eyebrows slightly but maintained his professional expression. "Which ones specifically?" I took out my notebook where I had written down the room numbers. Suites 301, 302, 304, and 305. I want to keep only 303, which is mine. Understood. And when would you like these cancellations to take effect? Today. But not immediately. First, I want you to block access to those rooms at 10 o'clock in the morning. Their keycards will stop working. And after that, at 11 o'clock, I want resort staff to go to those suites and inform the guests that they must vacate the rooms by noon due to changes in the reservation. Miguel took notes as I spoke, without judgment. Completely professional. Are there any specific instructions I should give the staff? Yes. They should explain that the primary guest, which is me, has decided to modify the stay, that it is not the resort's fault, but a personal decision by the person who paid for the reservation. And if they ask where they can find you to speak with you, you can tell them I am available in Suite 303, but only if they come to speak civilly. If there is any shouting, threats, or disrespect toward the hotel staff, you have instructions to contact security. Miguel finished writing and looked at me with a mix of admiration and curiosity. Mrs. Morales, may I ask what led you to this decision? Miguel, do you have a family? Yes, a wife and 2 young children. Do you love them? Of course. Would you do anything for them? Without hesitation. And what if they betrayed you? If you discovered they were using you, were ashamed of you, were planning to defraud you? Miguel was quiet for a moment. I think I understand. For 40 years, I raised my sons. I fed them, clothed them, cared for them when they were sick. I worked to give them an education, sacrificed my dreams for theirs. And now, when I thought we could finally enjoy time together as a family, I discover they see me as a useful nuisance, good only for paying bills. I am very sorry, Mrs. Morales. Don't be sorry, Miguel. This isn't sadness. This is liberation. I signed all the necessary documents, including the sworn affidavit Mr. Peterson had prepared. Miguel called a hotel notary who arrived in 10 minutes to make everything official. One last thing, I told Miguel as we finished. Could you arrange for a taxi at 12:30? For how many people? Just 2. My granddaughter Chloe and myself. Are you going to the airport? No, we're going to another hotel, one where we can truly enjoy a vacation. Miguel smiled for the first time during our meeting. It will be my pleasure to assist you with that as well. When I returned to my room, it was 8:30. My family was surely awake by now, planning another perfect day without me. But this time, things would be different. I sat on the balcony with a fresh cup of coffee I had ordered from room service and waited. At 9, I would receive the first message from Chloe with the secret group's conversations. At 10, their keycards would stop working. At 11, hotel staff would knock on their doors. And for the first time in my life, I was in complete control. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Michael. Mom, we're going to breakfast. Are you coming? I replied, No thank you, I have other plans today. What plans? You'll see, son. You'll see. I looked at my watch. It was 5 minutes to 9. In 5 minutes, the countdown would begin to the moment my family discovered they had gravely underestimated the woman who gave them life. And honestly, I couldn't wait to see their faces. At exactly 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed with the first message from Chloe. It was a screenshot from the secret group, sent just minutes before. Perfect plan for today. Beach all morning, spa in the afternoon. The old lady will probably stay in her room like yesterday. Great. After lunch, we'll talk to reception to get control of the other rooms. Did you confirm the thing with the bank, David? Yep, the dispute process should be ready this afternoon. By tomorrow, we won't have to worry about the expenses. Each message was further confirmation that I had made the right decision. There was no doubt, no guilt, no room for regret. They had chosen this path. At 9:30, another message from Chloe. Grandma, they're all at the pool. Dad just said that after lunch he's going to reception to sort out the rooms. I also heard Aunt Jessica say that today is the last day they have to pretend everything is okay. The last day they had to pretend. As if being with me was an unbearable performance that was finally coming to an end. I poured myself another cup of coffee and sat comfortably in the armchair by the balcony. From there, I could see the pool where my family was enjoying themselves. Michael and David were in the water with some of the grandkids. Jessica and Lauren were sipping cocktails under an umbrella, all of them laughing, relaxed, happy, making the most of the vacation I had paid for while they plotted to betray me. At 5 minutes to 10, my phone rang. It was Miguel. "Mrs. Morales, the system is ready. In 2 minutes, the key cards for suites 301, 302, 304, and 305 will be deactivated." "Perfect, Miguel. Is your staff prepared for what's coming?" "Completely. We have the security team on standby, and I've already briefed the housekeeping staff on how to handle the situation with diplomacy but firmness." "Excellent. I'll see them in an hour." I looked at my watch. 9:58, 9:59, 10 o'clock. At that moment, my family's key cards had just become useless pieces of plastic. They wouldn't be able to get into their rooms, access their belongings, change their clothes, or take a shower after the pool. I waited. It didn't take long. At 7 minutes past 10, I saw Lauren get up from her lounge chair and walk toward the elevators. She was probably going to get something from her room. At 12 minutes past 10, my phone buzzed with an urgent message from Chloe. "Grandma, Mom is yelling at the front desk. She says her keycard isn't working." 3 minutes later, another message. "Now they're all there. Dad is really upset. The receptionist is explaining something, but I can't hear well from here." At 20 minutes past 10, Michael called me. His voice was tense, controlled, but I could detect the panic underneath. "Mom, there's a problem with the rooms. The keys aren't working. Could you come down to reception to help us sort it out?" "What kind of problem?" "We don't know. The receptionist says there's a change to the reservation, but that's impossible because nobody has changed anything." "How strange," I replied in the most innocent voice I could muster. "Are you sure no one changed anything?" "Of course not, Mom. Could you please come down? We need to fix this fast because the kids want to get back to the rooms." "I'm a little busy right now, son. But don't worry. I'm sure it will be resolved soon." "Busy with what?" "Important things." I hung up before he could respond. At 10:45, Chloe sent me another message. "Grandma, the hotel manager is talking to Dad and Uncle Michael. They look very worried. Aunt Jessica is arguing with a receptionist." At 10:58, my phone rang again. This time it was David. "Mom, we need you to come to reception now. There's a very serious misunderstanding, and only you can fix it." "What kind of misunderstanding?" "The hotel says that you canceled our rooms. That's ridiculous, right? Just tell them it's a mistake." "Why would that be ridiculous, David?" "What do you mean, why?" "Because there's no reason for you to cancel our rooms, isn't there?" There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Mom, what is going on?" "I'm sure Miguel explained it to you very well." "Miguel? You know the manager?" "Of course. We had a very productive meeting this morning." Another silence. When David spoke again, his voice had changed completely. "Mom, you canceled our rooms." "Yes. Why?" "Because I could." And I hung up. At exactly 11 o'clock, from my balcony, I saw hotel staff walking toward the pool area. There were 3 of them. Miguel, a woman who looked like she was from guest relations, and a plain-clothed security guard. I watched as they approached my family, as Miguel spoke to Michael while gesturing toward the hotel. I saw the expressions of shock, confusion, and then anger cross the faces of my sons and daughters-in-law. I saw how the grandchildren, who didn't understand what was happening, gathered around their parents, looking for explanations. At 11:05, someone pounded on my door. It wasn't the polite knock of a social call. It was loud, urgent, desperate. I opened the door to find all 4 of them: Michael, David, Jessica, and Lauren. Their faces were a collage of emotions: fury, confusion, panic, disbelief. Behind them in the hall, I could see some of my grandchildren waiting with their beach bags in hand. "What the hell is going on?" Jessica shouted before I could say a word. "Good morning to you, too," I replied calmly, stepping aside to let them in. "Don't get sarcastic with me, Estella," Jessica continued. "The hotel says you canceled our rooms. That's ridiculous." "Why is it ridiculous?" "Because we're your family." "Oh, are you? Since when?" Michael stepped forward, trying to use his most conciliatory tone. "Mom, there's clearly been a misunderstanding. Let's just go down to reception and clear this all up." There's no misunderstanding, Michael. I canceled your rooms because you are no longer welcome on my vacation. Your vacation? Lauren looked genuinely confused. I thought this was a family trip. I thought so too. Until I found out that you don't consider me family. David frowned. What are you talking about? I took out my phone and showed them the screenshots of the secret group chat that Chloe had sent me. I watched their faces fall as they read their own messages. This, Michael struggled for words. This isn't what it looks like. Isn't it? Then explain what free vacation and no family drama means, Michael. The silence in the room was deafening. The four of them looked at each other, searching for an explanation, an excuse, a way out of the hole they had dug for themselves. Mom, David finally spoke. I understand you're upset, but you can't just leave us without rooms. We have small children. The same children you were going to keep away from me by hiring a babysitter? That was... And what about the bank, David? Did you start the charge dispute yet? David's face went completely pale. How did you know? I know everything. I know about the group chat. I know about your plans to take control of the reservation. I know about the fraudulent dispute you were planning to file with the bank. I know everything. Jessica slumped into the armchair, covering her face with her hands. Lauren looked like she was going to be sick. Michael and David just stood in the middle of the room, like children caught stealing cookies. So, I said, my voice sounding strangely calm, even to me, here are your options. You can take your things, which the hotel staff has already very kindly packed up for you. You can call a taxi, and you can go find another hotel where you can pay for your own vacation. Or what? Michael asked, his voice trembling. Oh, nothing. That's your only option. You can't do this, Jessica shouted, jumping up from the chair. We are your family. You can't abandon us. I looked directly into the eyes of this woman, who for years had tolerated my advice with fake smiles, who had spoken behind my back, who had turned my son against me. Jessica, I said with a calmness that surprised even me, who abandoned whom first? And in that moment, I saw in her eyes that she knew exactly what I was talking about. The war was over before they even knew it had begun. The silence that followed my question was devastating. I could hear the air conditioner humming, the distant voices of other guests in the hallway, the soft sound of waves on the beach. But in my suite, the silence was so thick it felt like it had its own weight. Michael was the first to try and recover. Mom, this is insane. You can't be serious. Do I look like I'm kidding? But the kids. What will the grandkids think? For the first time since the confrontation began, I felt a pang in my chest. My grandchildren, the only innocent ones in this whole betrayal, the grandkids will think that their parents made some very poor decisions and now have to face the consequences. You're destroying this family, Lauren cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, Lauren, this family destroyed itself when you all decided I was an obstacle instead of a valued member. David approached me, his hands outstretched in a pleading gesture. Mom, please. I know we made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can talk. You want to talk now? After months of planning this deception? It wasn't months, Michael mumbled. No? The group chat was created the same day you invited me on this trip, Michael. The very same day. I watched him deflate internally. There was no way to deny the evidence anymore. Fine, Jessica said, standing up with a furious expression she no longer tried to hide. You want to be the martyr? You want to pull your dramatic stunt? Perfect. But don't expect us to come running back when you get lonely again. Her words were designed to hurt me, to make me reconsider, to trigger that part of me that had always been afraid of being alone. Jessica, I said, walking to the door and opening it wide. I would rather be alone than be in the company of people who despise me. We don't despise you, David exclaimed. No? Then explain to me what getting rid of the burden means, and the last day we have to pretend everything is okay. David opened his mouth to answer, but no sound came out. Just then, Chloe appeared at the door. She had been waiting in the hall with the other grandchildren, looking clearly distressed. What's going on? She asked in a small voice. The kids don't understand why we have to leave. My heart broke a little more. This girl, my granddaughter, who had shown me the messages, who had been my ally, now had to leave too. Chloe, I said softly, come here. She came over, and I took her hands. Sweetie, your parents and I have some very serious differences. They are going to have to leave the resort. But why, Grandma? I looked at David, her father, wondering if he would finally have the courage to tell his own daughter the truth. Why? David said, his voice cracking. Because Dad made some very big mistakes. Chloe looked at her father, then at me, and in her eyes, I saw an understanding that went beyond her 17 years. Does it have to do with the group chat? Everyone froze. Lauren turned to her daughter with a panicked expression. What do you know about that? I know everything, Mom. I know what you've been saying about Grandma. I know you never wanted her to come on the trip. I know you only used her so she would pay for everything. The silence that followed was different. It was no longer tense with denial. It was heavy with the shame of recognition. Chloe, Lauren tried to explain, things aren't as simple as, aren't they? Chloe pulled her hands away from mine and turned to her parents. So it's not true that you made a group without Grandma to make fun of her? It's not true that you planned to dispute the bank charges so you wouldn't have to pay? It's not true that you hired a babysitter so we wouldn't have to spend time with her? Each question was like a slap. I watched my children and their spouses shrink physically under the weight of the words from a teenager who had seen right through their lies. You hurt the one person who has always been there for us, Chloe continued, tears in her eyes but her voice steady. Grandma sold her wedding ring to pay for this trip for us. Did you know that? She sold Grandpa's ring. Michael sank into a chair, as if his legs could no longer support him. You sold your ring? I needed the money for the deposit. Mom, David looked sick. We didn't know, because you never asked. You just assumed I had an infinite supply of money for your whims. Jessica, who had been silent during Chloe's speech, finally spoke. Fine, we'll leave. But this isn't over. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You can't treat your family like this and not expect consequences. Jessica, I said, walking toward her until we were face to face. I didn't treat my family badly. My family treated me badly. What's happening now are the consequences of your actions, not mine. Michael got up from the chair. Mom, please, we can fix this. We can. You can what, Michael? Erase the messages you wrote? Cancel the fraudulent dispute you started? Give me back the respect you took from me? We can apologize. Are you apologizing because you got caught? Or because you're truly sorry? Michael couldn't answer. Exactly. Just then, Miguel knocked gently on the open door. Excuse the interruption. Mrs. Morales, your taxi is ready. He looked at my children. And for the family, your belongings are in the lobby. The resort can assist you in finding alternative accommodations if you need them. Thank you, Miguel. A taxi? Lauren asked. You're leaving too? Yes. Chloe and I are going to another hotel where we can actually enjoy the vacation I deserve. Chloe is going with you? David looked genuinely surprised. I glanced at my granddaughter, who nodded firmly. Chloe is the only person in this family who treated me with respect and honesty. She's the only one who deserves to share this vacation with me. You can't take our daughter, Lauren cried. I'm not taking her. She's choosing to come with me. Chloe, David spoke directly to his daughter. You can't do this. We're your family. Dad. Chloe looked at him with an expression that mixed love and disappointment. Grandma is our family too, and you betrayed her. I can't be a part of that. It's just for a few days, I added. After that, she can decide if she wants to return to you or not. This is kidnapping, Jessica muttered. No, I said firmly. This is justice. Michael approached me one last time. Mom, if we leave like this, things will never be the same between us. Michael, I put my hand on his shoulder, and for a moment, I saw the little boy he had been before he became the man who had chosen to betray me. Things are already never going to be the same. You all made sure of that. I picked up my suitcase, which I had packed that morning after my meeting with Miguel. Chloe already had hers ready. Where are you going? David asked in a defeated voice. To a place where I can be a grandmother without having to apologize for existing. We walked to the door. The other grandchildren were waiting in the hall, confused and sad, not fully understanding what was happening but knowing something important had broken. I knelt down in front of them. I love you all so much, I said, and this is not your fault. Someday, when you're older, You'll understand why Grandma had to do this." Leo, the little 8-year-old, hugged me tight. "Aren't we going to build sandcastles anymore? Someday, we will build the most beautiful castles in the world," I promised him, "when your parents remember how to treat the people who love them." Chloe and I walked to the elevator. As the doors closed, I could see my family in the hallway. My defeated sons, my furious daughters-in-law, my confused grandchildren. In the lobby, Miguel was waiting for us with our taxi. "Mrs. Morales," he said as the driver loaded our bags, "it has been an honor to meet you. What you did today took a great deal of courage." "It wasn't courage, Miguel. It was survival." As the taxi pulled away from the resort, I looked out the back window. I could see my family at the entrance with their suitcases, probably calling other hotels, looking for a place to stay. "Do you have any regrets, Grandma?" Chloe asked me. I thought about her question as the scenery passed by. I thought about 40 years of motherhood, of sacrifices never acknowledged, of love given freely with nothing expected in return except, in the end, basic respect. "No," I finally answered. "I regret that it took me so long to value myself." The taxi was headed toward a small boutique hotel on the coast where I had made a reservation that morning. A place where a grandmother and her granddaughter could build sandcastles, enjoy quiet dinners, and remember what it really meant to be family. For the first time in years, I felt free. And for the first time in my life, I had put my own needs first. It was terrifying and liberating all at once, but mostly, it just felt right.